Amari Cooper yesterday got traded to the Buffalo Bills, and now there's an open spot on the Cleveland Browns, and we're looking at Jeudy because he's been getting a lot of workload, running a lot of routes, seeing a lot of targets per game, but the targets have been missing. But since Amari Cooper's out, more than likely there's going to be more targets. So we're going to deep dive him today to see whether or not you need to make a move for him for fantasy football. He's on waivers in a lot of leagues, but also he's on a lot of rosters. You may want to sell him. This isn't just a need video to go pick up. This might be a need to sell after you look at all the advanced data here. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now, because we're doing these deep dives every day on as many players as possible. We're covering the waiver wire every day. We're going to cover like 20 players on the waiver wire today in another video. And on top of that, we're using these videos to help you set your lineups. Click that button. Stop missing out. Rick Flair's watching you. Do not disappoint him. But Amari Cooper got traded yesterday, and that's big news for the Bills. That's big news for everybody involved. But there's also the inverse effect, and that is Jeudy, and he has been getting workload, especially from weeks 1 through 4, weeks 5 and 6, just 3 targets a game. But he's also running a lot of routes. He's running a lot of snaps. He's out there. He's hitting on a lot of weeks still. He's still been fantasy valuable to some degree in your lineups, especially the start of the year, but it's been up and down. We'll cover that too today. But Jeudy is available in 52.1% of leagues on ESPN. If he's on waivers, you're thinking about him. You're looking at him, you're thinking about him. This video is going to break you either way, because I'm going to stay right down the middle. And I might sell you one way or another on both sides when I do this, because that's what I do here. My goal is to help you make your choice. So I'm going to play the face and heel with this. But honestly, Jeudy, for being a first-round wide receiver, technically a bust. I know there's injuries in there, but we have 4 wide receiver 1 weeks on his career. 4 wide receiver 1 weeks on his career. Wide receiver 2 on his team until Amari Cooper got shipped off. That being said, we had some moments here with double-digit production, but it's still wide receiver 3 scoring in the stat line, which is something you don't really want on your fantasy lineup. However, when you're looking at him overall, he's basically a wide receiver 3. But now we're going to get more opportunities, more targets. We're already running all the routes. We can't really run many more routes or have a higher route participation rate. Maybe it goes up like 2 to 5%, but it's already up there. And then looking at this season, 11, 12, and 13 in the production, you're all right if you started him those weeks. The other weeks, you're not. However, he's in a very vulnerable situation. It's very ambiguous, and I think we all know that when we look at Deshaun Watson. But we're looking here at Amari Cooper. There is 8.8 targets per game gone. He was getting 6 per game. Those targets are going to spray around this offense, and they usually don't just go to the next wide receiver 1. That's usually not how targets are allocated. So 8.8 targets are gone. Jeudy will probably get a bump up there. Elijah Moore should get a bump up in targets and work as well, because he's next in line in routes and targets. And they traded for him. He's a good prospect, a good player for the NFL. Has never been really great for fantasy, but I would not be surprised if he turns up. You got Cedric Tillman next in line when you look at the routes. He's a veteran. David Bell, who they cut, brought back to practice squad, then elevated up. Might get a little extra run as well. But he's a slower wide receiver with very good ball skills. Very productive at Purdue. But you're looking at Jeudy here, and we're running on 88.1% of the routes. We might hit 90, 92, just like Amari Cooper. We might get some deeper targets here, but we got a 12.9 ADOT. You really can't get much more outside of bumping your targets to like 7 to 8 per game. That being said, you might get a little bit more of a bump up. You might get a little bit more of a bump up in the air yards per game there versus 77. It might get to 80 to 90. If you're lucky, 100. Might get to 100 there if we're starting to get 7 to 8 targets per game and a couple deeper shots downfield to Jeudy. So we might see our targets rise a little bit, and that's a might because we're already at 6 a game. That being said, I look for his targets to increase, his routes to increase just a little bit, his air yards per game to increase, probably about at least 10 a game. At least 10 a game. So the number standpoint here from the work rate, from the increase, because his work rate was already good. His target share should increase 20%. It's at 18.7%. The ball's going to flow around. Expect him to be around 22 to 25-ish, maybe 21 on the low end. It should be low 20s easy, but it might push a little bit more. It really depends on the game script and flow of games. But Jerry Jeudy's work rate will go up, and that could lead to fantasy points. And Deshaun Watson has been historically bad. Very bad. Deshaun Watson has been horrible. The numbers are saying it. You can't watch all these games without seeing it. It's there. It's comical. And he just keeps getting trucked out there. And they might as well keep doing it so they can get higher draft picks. But we're looking at him, and he's still historically bad and inefficient. One of the worst quarterbacks in the National Football League, which means he's getting a lot of targets, but a lot of them ain't going to hit. A lot of them ain't going to work out. However, that volume might be something you want still, and we're looking at the work rate here. We're looking at the yards. We're almost dead nuts with Amari Cooper on the season. So we're able to churn out production. We're able to get yards after the catch. Jerry Jeudy's probably going to get more volume going forward. He should. Look for Elijah Moore, because in these videos, we don't just talk about the named player, but Elijah Moore should get some work rate. So if you're in a deeper league, if your waiver wire is really decimated, say you got some extra spots in your lineup and bench, more than the traditional league, then you might be looking at Elijah Moore. We talked about him in waiver wire videos because in the start of the season, he was getting a lot of work. He was running a lot of routes. He was getting targets. Things scaled back a bit. Elijah Moore, they move him around a lot. They try and get him in space. I look for his targets to go up. If I'm looking for the most drastic increase in targets, routes ran, and everything else, Elijah Moore's will be more impactful. Cedric Tillman should see a more impactful increase, but Elijah Moore, considering he's getting targeted, considering he's got a history, I look for him to push for a 20%. Probably right where Jerry Jeudy was, 18-19% target share, 17% range, somewhere around there in the target share. Last year, he had some games where he was over a 20% target share. That was when Amari Cooper was banged up. He was in and out a little bit, but Amari Cooper will play banged up. So now it's just another wide receiver, Jerry Jeudy, and Elijah Moore. Look for him to push 17 to 20% target share. Cedric Tillman might emerge a little bit and get a little bit of volume. David Bell's the veteran with trusty hands who knows the routes, knows the scheme and everything. I don't look for him to be fantasy viable, but he will be great down the line for the Browns if there is a line there, considering we got one win on the season. But David Bell has good hands, and you're looking at this depth chart. Jamari Thrash. When we looked at him during draft season, he's very electric off the line of scrimmage. He can get downfield. He made some plays during training camp, minicamp, and OTAs. Pay attention to him. But that's a deeper play, and we're looking at the schedule. We got the Bengals, Ravens, Chargers, Saints, Steelers. Everything's up and down. I don't want to go into these matchups too much. I really want to look at the workload here, and I think the work rate's going to go up on Jerry Jeudy. I think Elijah Moore is a sneaky option here because he's going to get enough work to be fantasy viable. Some weeks he's going to be up and down. And if Deshaun Watson was better, if he ever kicked it into gear, then these targets would be very nice for fantasy football. On top of that, we're getting into the meat of the schedule where the defenses are going to be worse for Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson might be the reason why you go the other way. Deshaun Watson might be the reason why you try to sell Jerry Jeudy, package him and another player, get an upgrade at running back or at wide receiver, and say, hey, he's going to get a lot of targets. I look for his target share to push to where Amari Cooper was at. He's already pushing 20%. Now that Amari Cooper's out, you know it's going to get over 20. He's going to get the work rate. He's going to be scoring fantasy points. It's going to be up and down, but he can help you in your decimated lineup. When you're in bye weeks, he can help you out. Maybe you can do that. And here's this running back. He's the 4th or 5th best running back on my team. I'll throw him in there, and now you got an extra running back to play during your bye weeks, and I'll just take the 2nd best running back on your roster right here. We'll patch this up. Let's get going. Something like that. I don't know. I'm just daydreaming right now while talking in front of a camera, but you just play around. You got to get a little artsy with it. But you don't need them because fuck the Browns, fuck Deshaun Watson. This is ugly. Maybe they'll win a couple more games if they're lucky. It's not looking good. You don't want any part of this offense. That all makes sense. I'm not here to sell you on Jerry Jeudy. With these videos, 90% of the time, I'm not here to sell you on the player. A lot of people comment, oh, that player ran bad. That player ran bad. But really, at the end of the video, I'm like right in the middle. And really, I'm more towards the opposite way. or I'm just right in the middle and I don't really care, but I'm trying to relay the information. Jerry Jeudy's in a bad situation, but he's also in a great situation as well, where there's going to be a lot of volume, and you don't know where that volume is going to be like or look like, but it's going to be rather ambiguous. You may want that, you may hate that, you may need that, you may not need that. That's up to you. And leagues are different, and your fantasy football lineups are all different of all you guys watching these videos. You need the targets, you need the work rate. You do not care if it's from Deshaun Watson or Art Schleister. You do not care. You will take those targets. And some people will listen to me say that, and you're like, no, that's not going to win leagues. However, some of you guys are so decimated, you will take whatever. That's the thing is, we're seeing a lot of injuries right now. And last year, we did not get hit with this amount of injuries because we were doing these waiver wire videos, and it was the same guys on the waiver wire every week. Now we're starting to get the flux of injuries like we had in years past, and now it's going to impact people more, and now we're getting heavier into bye weeks, week after week after week. You may want him. He might be on your waiver wire, or he might be on your team. You may want to ship him off, or you may want to try and buy him right now, but right now he's going to be kind of on the high. Could have probably did that earlier. So buying him on trade might not be the best thing right now, but maybe in a week or two. However, shipping him off now, his value is at least going to be more liquid. People are at least going to perk their ears up a little bit more. Maybe that's something you want to do. Or maybe he's on waivers and you're wondering what wide receiver to pick up. All the basic wide receivers who are getting a good target share with a low ADOT, like the Amari Douglases, they're already picked up. Even though they're in the waiver wire articles, they're already picked up. There's Jerry Jeudy there, though, because no one likes Deshaun Watson, no one likes the Browns, and you're like, what the hell? I'm going to go ahead and do it. Let me know what you're doing in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.